Welcome to the FE Bar. I'm your host, Jack George Maynard, and joining me as ever for the next 2 hours is Jack Pickering. We'll be looking back at an enthralling Sao Paulo Eprix, which saw Sam Bird make an audacious move to pass Mitch Evans to win the race on the last lap. Is Sam Bird back? It looks like it. We'll be discussing everything Sam Bird tonight. Also, do we need the Peloton-style race? 212 overtakes in 45 minutes. It's pretty ridiculous, and we don't see half of them. The safety car made that race flat out, and it was much better for it. Have your say on the Peloton races on the FE Bar, the only place where FE fans can have their say on the series they love. Mr. Pickering, how are you?
I'm very good, mate. I think some of you will notice this isn't my background, and I sound a lot better. I'm using my brother's setup. I'm in Huddersfield at the moment. I'm heading back home tomorrow morning because I'm in work at 9:45. So yeah, no, that's going to be interesting. But it was a fantastic race to be out on Saturday, and I'm really looking forward to getting into it.
Yeah, and we have to start right. So normally we come online about 7:30. Right, and we do a little production meeting like every professional show does. But Mr. Pickering today was late. So, he doesn't know what's happening. He has no idea. He is as in the dark as you guys are of what is on this show.
Read the notes in the car. I'm fine.
Arrived 5 minutes before. It's like, all right, mate, let me set up your camera and stuff.
Yeah, kudos to my brother who did a fantastic job at getting from Leeds to Huddersfield as quickly as possible to get me for this. So yeah, big shout out to Jacob.
Oh, amazing. But we have to start with Sam Bird, right? We have to start with Sam. What a move. That last corner, right? And that last lap, you just felt something was coming. He had to go for it. And to go round the outside, not down like a normal move down the inside, round the outside with 2 laps to go. Unreal.
So yeah, I was watching this race with our very own Aisha Dowlai, and she would probably agree with this, but I lost it when Sam did that. That was an amazing move. We know that that Mitch was suffering with D rates in the last couple of laps or so. But yeah, no, it was an amazing ballsy move from Sam, and it's nice to see that Sam Bird back because we didn't see that for a few years at Jaguar, and. Yeah, honestly, I don't think you will be able to find a person who is frustrated that Sam is back to his old self and he's winning again.
Yeah, it was brilliant from Sam. Absolutely brilliant. And it was great, as you said, it was great to see him there because he did have a couple of difficult years in Jaguar. So, a couple of things show tonight. So, if you're going to come on, we have a waiting room. So, if you want to hit to the waiting room, come in the waiting room. If you're on Discord, !Discord in chat should work. If it doesn't work, someone nice in chat might put the Discord link in there for you if you would like to join and if you would like to
Ed, put it in the chat.
So,
put it in the chat, Ed.
Yeah,
thank you.
That would be amazing. But !Discord should work, but I've been having issues with it, but it technically should work, but I don't think it does. Nightbot is in chat though. We have established Nightbot is in chat because it shouts at people if you put capital letters in. So don't put capital letters in because Nightbot will shout at you, and we don't want that. So a couple of things. If you come on tonight, we've got a couple of questions I had in my little log. 2 things now. When have you ever been late to something? Right? Give me a late story. So if you've ever been late, I want a story about when you've been late, and we'll want to have some interesting stories. If not, then your fantasy FE team. We're going to see what drivers would you have recurrent right now. If you were to have an FE team, what FE team would you have? So those are 2 things that we are going to look at. But yeah, back to Sam Bird. Absolutely brilliant. And Mr. Pickering, he doesn't know this right now, but we've actually got a little clip from Sam Bird, which I'm going to play for you. Now, actually, we're not, because I'm jumping ahead of the gun.
Okay,
we are going to play that clip,
good.
But first...
Glad that we're doing this now.
Yeah.
This is what happens when I miss the production meeting.
Helps if you're in the production meeting. What we're going to do is we're going to play, actually, we've got a little overtake clip, which is a short currently right now out on the YouTube channel. So get to the short at some point. Get a comment. What move do you prefer? Because Sam Bird's move, everyone's like, oh, brilliant move. But then I've put it up against De Costa's move from Cape Town last year. And I want to see which one that you guys think is better. So we're going to have a watch now. And also, get your earphones ready because you are going to hear a screaming Jack Nicholls and you are going to hear a very screamy Tom Brooks.
Here comes Verline out of the final corner. It's 0. Degrassi wins.
Away minimum distance, flat on the way.
Degrassi wins.
Da Costa's got a great run off turn 7 onto Beach Road. Is he going to go for it again into 8? Weaving all over the back. He's going for it.
This is cannot end well.
He's done it.
Oh my God.
What?
Antonio Felix da Costa with a farcical move for the lead of the Cape Town Eprix. The man's on a mission.
But who is going to take the win of round 4 of the Eprix? And look at Bird go for the outside. Surely he's not going to make that stick on Mitch Evans into turn 10. Bird's done it. Absolutely amazing from Sam Bird. He comes around the final corner to win here in Sao Paulo. Sam Bird takes his first victory since 2022.
Unbelievable. I still think, right, Tom Brooks is... I know the commentary on all of them is brilliant, right? And we also sneaked in Lucas Degrassi and Pascal Verlaine there at the beginning. But what was your... I want to see chat. Chat, this is your time, right? What was your favourite move out of those 3? And Pico, Cape Town, Antonio Felix Acosta, or Sam Bird on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, like, for me, it's a slam dunk. It's definitely Da Costa in Cape Town. That was absolutely insane. And the fact it wasn't a fluke as well. He did it a second. He did it once before, but that move was even better. But yeah, there's also the fact that it was like a high speed move, a high speed overtake into a blind corner, whereas Sam's was sort of just like mirror signal maneuver a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, they're both absolutely fantastic. And the thing is, I mean, like you can tell from both Jack and Tom that like, and this is what we love about the commentators who do get a little bit shouty, a little bit the passion seeps through, and you need to have that passion to be a commentator. But you also need to find the right words within like half a second, even less, to translate everything that's happening in front of you through your brain, for it to come out your mouth and relay all the information to the screen. I mean, I could never be a commentator, which is something I worked at when I was like 13 when I tried to have a go and turned off the commentary on the red button.
Yeah.
So yeah, and
it was brilliant commentary, and it got the passion through. Because even like my tweet that I did, I was like, "Sam Bird, you beaut!" I was.
Yeah, congrats on making the FE thing. Congrats on making the FE thing.
Made it free promo. I'll take that. Right. So let's hear from Sam Bird, and then as promised, let's hear from Sam Bird.
So you mentioned there about it being a long time since being in that seat. It's been 9 years, 3 months and 22 days since your first ever Formula E.
I was going to say, it hasn't been 9 years since the last one.
Since your first ever Formula E win. What I would like to know is, how does that one feel compared to this one? Because it must mean a hell of a lot.
I think this one is one of the more special because of what I've had to go through to get back to this chair. So yeah, this one definitely feels very special. Also the fact that it's first one for Neil McLaren. We had some goals at the beginning of the year about scoring some podiums. I would be lying to you saying that I thought that we could definitely win a race this early. It would have been a dream, but I didn't imagine that, but we've managed it. That doesn't mean to say that we've made it and we need to rest. Like, there's still a lot of work to do, but to score our first win feels very special.
Another stat for you, you're now just one win away from equaling the record number of wins that Seb still holds. And it feels like, based on what other teams were saying at the end of Diriyah, they were full of praise, or even flipped that concern of how efficient the McLaren and the Nissans were looking. You certainly showed them that they were right to be concerned today. This must be a huge boost.
It is a huge boost, but as I said, there's still work to be done. I'm going to enjoy tonight, don't get me wrong. I won't remember tonight. But there's still work to be done. You know, Jag, Porsche, Andretti, Envision, there's DS, Maserati, Nissan. There's so many other brilliant teams that at any given time can be winning or scoring podiums. So we need to learn from this, understand why it was really good, understand what we did well, what we did badly, and then try and score some more good points in Tokyo.
Yeah, there's a Sam Bird there. Really interesting. What I thought, it was quite fair to say that he still had a lot of work to do, and I found it really interesting. Of course, he probably did not expect to be winning at this early stage, but it kind of follows that trend. You know, Nissan being quite powerful in Diriyah with being more efficient, and then here we are come Sao Paulo that Sam Bird he wins the race.
Yeah, I mean, I spoke to Ollie Rowland a little over a week ago, and he was heavily playing down the fact that that the Nissan was one of the best efficiency wise. But yeah, it was absolutely fantastic for Sam, for McLaren, for Nissan. I believe when was the last Nissan powered win? It would have been the Nissan team.
Yeah,
but
you're going back to season 5 there, probably season 5 with the double.
No, Roland had one in Berlin in season 6. I'm trying to think if they had one in season 7. No,
because they started to go down.
No, it would have been, it would have been season 6 in Berlin then. So they had they had too many races in Berlin that year, and they should have done something else.
But it was COVID, so we have to let them off.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, but they could have done 2 races Berlin, 2 races Valencia, 2 races Donny. It would have been fine.
They could have. Could have, would have, should have. But I think we should get a fan on, actually, because the waiting room is kind of filled, and I'm kind of going against my own little production meeting here. But I thought, the part of this show is ad-libbing, so we're going for the ad-lib. Let's bring Natalie in, because obviously we know Natalie, massive Sam Bird fan. So let's get Natalie in, and let's get her reaction to Sam Bird. Natalie, you're live on the FE bar. Please not swear. Sam Bird, man, you must be delighted.
Oh, boys, I'm still speechless.
Have you run out of Kleenex yet? Because you said that you'd been crying since he won.
Oh, don't mention it. I haven't stopped all weekend.
Talk us through your emotions through the final lap. When he made the move, what was your emotions like as he went through that final lap?
Denial at first. Then when he crossed the line, I just burst out crying. I just could not stop crying because it's Sam's first win in 2.5 years, McLaren's first win since 2022, McLaren's first win in the all-electric series, and first win since 2022, not counting Oscar's sprint win last year.
Yeah. So to talk to me about Sam Bird then. Is he back? Do you think, he had a couple of difficult years at Jaguar. He did all right, to be fair. First season was good. Second season kind of got lost. Third season kind of found his way a little bit. But to see him smiling again as a Sam Bird fan, that must have been huge.
Mega, absolutely mega. And the fact he's back with Laney as well. I think that helped a bit. Because at Jaguar, I feel like he just lost his way a bit. Now he's back with Laney at McLaren. Those two got on so well at Envision. And then he left for Jaguar and it was okay. But I feel like he kind of lost his way a little bit.
Yeah, it was interesting, right? Because I spoke to Sam prior to the Sao Paulo Eprix and we were kind of chatting and he was like, I said, why did you leave Envision, right? Because obviously you're also an Envision fan. So I said, why did you leave? And he kind of just wanted a new challenge going to Jaguar. Can you sort of understand that? Because it was his team, but obviously going to Mitch's team, right? That was a challenge.
Yeah. I'd have to agree with that because Jaguar are sort of very towards Mitch in a way.
Yeah, of course, because obviously he's been there since day one. But do you think now him being at McLaren, it's kind of like you need the right environment, right? And I think every athlete kind of needs the right environment. So it looks like for him that McLaren is that right environment for him to thrive. So he has a positive, because as much as we love Sam Bird, I don't know how long he's going to continue in the series. It could be a couple more seasons, but for him, we hope it's long. But we never know what he's doing. He's 37 years of age.
No.
So we want him to go out on a high for someone who's been here.
Yeah. He's been in the championship since day one. And like I said earlier, now he's back with Laney again. The two got on so well at Envision. I think it's just giving him that new lease of life to be like, look, I'm back with an old engineer I know well. I'm back with someone I know. And yes, I'm at a new team, but we can continue that partnership we had together at a new team. And just look where it's got him.
Yeah, brilliant. Natalie, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Do come on if you want to come on a bit later, but absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much. I'm glad you were so delighted for Sam Bird, and fingers crossed for you and for him that it carries on.
Yeah. Laney said Bird is back. I believe that's true. And I just hope it gives him a little bit of a push to get some more good results.
Excellent stuff. Excellent stuff. Thank you, Natalie. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Au revoir.
Au revoir. So there we go. Right. So what we're going to do now? I want to talk
one thing that I will say is that I am slightly intrigued if because people will know that a couple of years ago Daniel Ricciardo had a bet with Zach Brown that if he won a race he'd get to drive a NASCAR. And the thing is, Zach likes doing these things. He did one with Pato O'Ward that once he won his first IndyCar race for McLaren, he'd get to go in the F1 seat. I'd like to know if Sam had a little bet with Zach. And I think that would be really, really interesting to find that out.
He did say he played golf with him. I don't want to play too much of the interview because we are going to be doing a McLaren magazine issue, hopefully for April. But yes, hopefully we'll find out more from Sam Bird then. But
Zach lets him win at golf just once. Just once.
We've got a bit packed show. I know we've got a couple of people in the waiting room. I hope you don't mind. I'm just going to stall on that for you guys for a moment. I want to talk about Oliver Rowland because wow, right? He is kind of just going under the radar, right? Is Ollie and doing Oliver Rowland things. And what I mean by Oliver Rowland things is he's just doing what he does, and then all of a sudden he pops up with a good result here and there. And we're like, oh yeah, Ollie Rowland, he's quite good at Formula E actually. Like, and then to do that last move, we're thinking Bird's move, right? But for Ollie, he had to completely, watch what Dennis and Verline were doing, and then to attack and to nail that final corner as he did to get them across the line. I thought it was pretty incredible.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I had a little chat with Ollie Rowland last week, and honestly, it's the happiest I've ever seen him. He just looks so happy and comfortable to be back in the Nissan family. Obviously, he was there season 5, season 6, but then moved over to Mahindra. That didn't work out. I don't want to spoil too much about it because obviously we're going to do something with that interview, but he saw the option to cut his contract early, move over to Nissan, and it's definitely been the right call for him because he's now on back-to-back podiums. He's done superbly well, and yes, he's downplaying that the car's quick enough. Like, obviously, it doesn't help that Sam's just won a race. He finished third as well. Fantastic move that I didn't realise would even happened. I was genuinely. I know that we're supposed to be unbiased, us journalists, but like I said, like you'd be hard pressed to find someone who didn't enjoy that win for Sam so much. And this is honestly luck of the draw, but I've got a rocket red McLaren victory top on that I didn't plan on wearing, but it turned out that's the clothes that I'd left for today.
It's better than the white jacket.
Oh, shut up! That white jacket, absolute class. That is. That will be.
I do like the white jacket.
Yeah, to be honest, some of my shirts that I've worn on when I've been in the paddock are also a crime to fashion. So I mean, don't worry, I'm ticking all the boxes here. But with Rowland, like, he's getting there from he started 11th, I think it was, to finish on the podium. Fantastic job from him.
Okay, right. So what we're going to do now is we are going to hear from the man that finished in third place.
Oliver, onto yourself. Second podium on the bounce. Great way to capitalise on that drama that unfolded in front of you in the last lap there, between Dennis and Verline. Talk us through your race.
Yeah, it was busy. In the beginning, I mean, it's pretty tricky when you're in the middle of the pack, right? Because everybody, from when I was in around 10th, nobody behind really wants to stay behind, and then you want to make progress. So it's trying to attack without being attacked. So if you sometimes really go on the outside in one corner, you might get passed by one. But I managed to survive quite well the beginning part of the race and move my way up. Did both my attack modes just before the second safety car, which was pretty good, and I didn't lose too much. And then I was in 7th, and honestly, when I was 7th, I thought, come from 11th, I'm pretty happy to take some points on a track that probably doesn't suit me or the car, certainly in qualifying in a perfect way. So I was pretty happy to kind of come home behind everybody, and then I got an opportunity to pass Jed in turn 1, and then it became apparent quite quickly that the battery was going to be quite a big issue for us, so we had to take action quite early. And then I was able to pick off Antonio, who I think already had derated with 2 or 3 laps to go. And then, to be honest, when I was in 5th, it already felt like Christmas. I could see the other 2 were struggling more than what I was, but I was quite concerned to just finish the race myself. So I kind of saw them fighting into turn 7. I thought, I'll just get close, and if anything happens, then I can pick up the pieces. And in turn 10, I think Pascal went in on Jake, and they were pretty aggressive on each other and put each other right on the inside for 11, and I managed to get up underneath them and beat them to the line, which was pretty cool.
Well won. Now, I want to know about how this race differed from what was expected, because beforehand, big words were being thrown out: hectic, mayhem, carnage, chaos, etc., etc. But it didn't seem to work out that way. It was a bit, not as much as someone saying there'll be 10 cars out of the race. That didn't happen. But in terms of energy, was it not as tough as expected with the safety cars? How was it different?
No, actually, I didn't think the safety cars made too much difference to our actual targets. But it was pretty tough from being in the middle of the pack. But what's quite tricky here is that when you have a battery tank issue, you can't save too much in the beginning of the race, because then if you have too much energy at the end, that completely screws your battery because you can't use it. So it's a really tricky balance for us to kind of have the right targets, but not have saved too much, because like mentioned, you can have all the energy at the end, but you can't actually use it if your battery's overheated. So I think it was the first time in Gen 3 that we've had this, and I think quite new for everybody. So to be honest, I must say that my team pretty much expected what happened in terms of overheating, and made a really good job of it, because I started to struggle with probably 7 or 8 laps to go. I had warnings on the dash, but they managed it perfectly. I can't fault them, to be honest.
Right then. So what I thought was really interesting, what he said towards the end, and I wanted to bring it up because obviously I want to talk about the Peloton style of racing a little bit later, but I thought it was interesting that he said that the safety car didn't actually change the rates too much. But and I also found it interesting that he was delighted to be in 7th, and then he kind of was like allowed to sort of like get into 5th place, and by the others maybe with D rates and people struggling. So a really interesting race for Roland, because he worked his way up, but he kind of explained it quite methodically.
Yeah, I will say that camera angle for the first question, absolutely atrocious.
Well, I don't know what Formula E were doing, but
no. Then again, like with the way that these press conferences have been, I don't know what it is, if there's something wrong with the feed that comes back to us, but most of them have been dire this year. So production wise, but yeah, no, he just everything sort of just came to him. It was like it was his lucky day, and then obviously that last lap overtake was just absolutely phenomenal. I mean, like you could see that these two were going to fight to the two in front, Bearline and Dennis. They were going to fight to the bitter end, and why not just try and get involved as well, and just try and get him down into up to the line. Up to the line.
Yeah, it was brilliant from Roland, absolutely brilliant. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take a short break, very short break, probably a couple of minutes. We are going to be joined by a social media influencer, Catherine Mikolev, who's going to come on and talk to us all things Formula E. So we're going to be joined by her, and then once we're finished with her, we'll take a bit more of your calls before the end of the hour, until we are joined by Nick Golding at 9 p.m. from Racing News 365. So we will see you in a couple of minutes. And we are back. We had a couple of techie issues. We could have been back a minute or two earlier, but Mr. Pickering decided, while sneaking a little bit of his dinner in because he was late and didn't have time to eat, he mucked his microphone up and it was hitting him in the face. It was hilarious. I wish we could have come back for it, but
it's not my setup. It's Jacob's. I don't know what I'm doing.
But we are also joined by the wonderful Catherine Mikolev. Catherine, how are you?
Hi, I'm really good, thank you. How about you guys? Jack looks really good eating his dinner.
Yeah, I know, right? He's eating his dinner sneakily, right? I know he said, right, this was a radio show, right? But it's also being streamed live on... I know he said it's like a radio show, but people can see you, right? People can see you. It's what I got to put up with, right? It's what I got to put up with, Jack.
I know.
If you guys...
This is where the show falls off the rails.
No, it doesn't. No, come on. We've got to be ultra professional here. But actually, Catherine, we've got a really interesting story. While he's scoffing down his garlic bread, right, we've got an interesting story because obviously I met Catherine, me and Pico met Catherine for the first time in London in the media centre. And Catherine was a part of a gang that sort of sat next to us and we started chatting. We've got a really interesting story. Turns out, now, you could probably tell from my surname, right? I'm not fully English, right? And also with Catherine's surname, not fully English. Well, we both found out, I knew from her surname instantly, and she probably knew from mine, that we were both Maltese. And we both come from this little island off Malta. And then we have the same birthday, just a couple of years apart. But we're both born on the 27th of June. What an amazing story, just to meet someone. Imagine meeting someone for the first time. You're from the same country and you've got the same birthday.
The stars aligned. That's all I can say. The stars aligned, you know?
It was unreal. I still remember, I couldn't believe it. I knew from the first moment I heard her voice, I was like, she's Maltese, but like, how do I bring this up? How do I bring this up?
I remember we were just sitting next to each other and I was like, I wasn't really talking to anyone.
Yeah.
I was only talking to Jasmine. And then we just became friends over we didn't even become friends over Formula E.
Yeah.
Just became friends on how we're both from the same country. It's amazing.
And had the same birthday, which was pretty incredible. Yeah. So let's talk about the race and let's talk about Formula E.
No.
You want to pike up now because you've had dinner and you actually want to be part of the show now?
No, I've got a pizza just over there.
You want to be part of the show now?
Which I will continue eating through the show. No. Basically what I wanted to say is I have another story fairly similar. So my mum and this person met nursing in the 1980s, and they were sat next to each other because they alphabetically, and so they became really good friends, and they got pregnant around about the same time. But I was due at the start of September, and she was due start of August. So we were both born on the 21st of August. I was born at 3:25. She was born at 9:25.
Oh wow.
So we refer to each other as twins. So there's an interesting anecdote. You can go back to your talking about motor racing.
Right, there we go.
I'm going to scoff my face with pizza. Continue.
You do that then while I talk. So, Catherine, obviously, what did you make of the race? Because the first half of the peloton style, then it got crazy. After the safety cars, what did you just make of the race?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. When it started, I was like, I thought it was gonna be, one of those races where you can sort of tell who's gonna be the winner. But then I think the safety car, it really spiced things up. I think many teams decided to change this strategy around, and I really enjoyed it. We had some really good challenges. Sam Bird had an amazing race. The Jaguars, I was really rooting for them. Of course, it's really bad that Cassidy ended up crashing, but I was really rooting for Mitch Evans to get that win too. So I thought it was a really exciting race. To be fair, I expected nothing less because it's Brazil and I really love Brazil. Just in any motorsport series, I just love it. So maybe I can be a bit biased from that. But yeah, it was a really good race, as always.
Yeah, what did you make of Sam's move at the end there? Because, the anticipation, I know you're rooting for Mitch slightly, but the anticipation, I think everyone knew Bird was going to be attacked. He was going to attack Evans, and the fact that he pulled off that move at the end, like I was literally off my seat, sitting here. What were you like?
You know what? It's really weird because I didn't have time to watch the race in the weekend because I was at work. So I was like, it's fine, I'll watch it today. And I sort of knew that Sam Bird was gonna win, but I tried to stay off social media as much as I could so I don't get any spoilers about it. And I was like, but I saw Sam Burt is gonna win. So where is he now? Like, he's still in second. The race is almost finished. Where is he? And it was really good to see. It really did. How am I gonna explain it? I was really surprised. I was really amazed, to be fair, because the track, it is quite narrow and it is quite difficult to overtake from what I was seeing. So the fact that he pulled it off in such a short amount of time, I think it was really good. And on low energy levels too. It was, the end of the race. So he literally gave all the power he had just for that.
Yeah, it was incredible. I remember I was off my seat. So much so that I wrote a tweet and it ended up being in McLaren's or Formula E's. I was like, oh, take that. There's no grammar in it.
You love going on about that, don't you?
We got to put it in.
Look at me, Mom. I'm doing great.
I looked at it and I was like, I had no grammar in that whatsoever. I just wrote capital letters and just spammed the keyboard. And looking back at it, I was like, oh my God, I should have put a comma in there or something like that. But I was like, I couldn't even believe it's been
Twitter.
picked.
You don't use proper grammar on Twitter.
That's true, I know, but as a journalist website. But yeah, Sam was good, and I was brilliant. But who else impressed you in that race?
So I was really impressed by Max Günther. So what I really liked, well, he did start at literally the end of the grid. He had a penalty. It was quite a difficult weekend coming into it, to be honest with you. And I think the fact that he managed to finish in P9 from last, it was really impressive. I think the safety car was a massive advantage to Maserati this weekend, because we could see that he was last, and then in a matter of laps after the safety car, he got to P13. So I think that was a huge advantage for him. He made really good use of the strategy that he had too. He's an amazing driver. And I think even if you look at the peloton racing too, that was used this weekend, he also said last year, he finds it very challenging. Even though he enjoys it, he finds it very challenging because, it does take a toll on you. He is a racing driver at the end of the day, and it does take a toll on the human body and that. But, it's really good to see him first speaking about the style of racing and how difficult it is. And now to see him have such a good result from it. So yeah, I think he would be my driver of the day for that race.
Yeah, honestly, Catherine, I think he could have won that race. If he started where he started, he would have qualified third, right? Obviously, he had to take the 40 place grid drop for the change of the gearbox and the inverter, and he had to do 10-second stop go. The way that he clawed through the pack and made his way through the field, I think if he started third, for me, I think he could have won that race. I don't know what about you.
I agree with you. I'm really fond of Maximilian Günther as a driver, to be honest. We saw it last year. In preseason testing, he was fastest, and then eventually they didn't have a great season. They had lots of issues with the car, but somehow at the end of the season, they managed to really maximize on that. And I think they're coming into the season strong, and they really want to prove a point. And I really hope that in the seasons to come, we see him have more wins. And you never know, maybe he can also contest with with the likes of Jake Dennis, Mitch Evans, for the championship too. So we'll see. But I do think that there is a lot in that driver that it's gonna surprise many people.
Yeah. I will say very quickly that I think the race that Günther had was part because of his grid drop. The fact that he had a grid drop, the fact that he had to serve that penalty on lap 1 meant that he knew that basically the race was over unless there's a safety car. So he was ultra energy conservative, so that as soon as a safety car did come out, he caught up with the rest of the field, he could go balls to the wall and actually make all these places. So he technically, when the safety car came in, he started with more power than anyone else on the grid. So he could make those ballsy moves. He could make all the way up through the field, which it was absolutely fantastic. But and they said, I know that Maserati said when they were taking the 40 place penalty that there was a huge strategical advantage by doing that, because Sao Paulo is a circuit where we get these peloton style races, so that you can be at the back and try and make your way up to the front. And there was a big performance advantage by taking a brand new inverter, taking a brand new gearbox, for the team and for Max. So it was that really meant that he could do that. Otherwise, I do genuinely think Max would have, had he not taken a penalty, had he just like started third where he qualified, he may have got a podium. He may have got he may have got like fifth or something like that. But I reckon that it will put him in better stead over the course of the season, and he still scored points out of it, which is fantastic.
Well, yeah, it's interesting because obviously he's got a new gearbox and a new inverter. I don't know what advantage that would give him over the course of the season. I know he's taking his penalties now and so forth. You have to take it. If you take one, that is the standard penalty of 20 places. But potentially, I know you're poo-pooing a little bit there on Maximilian Gunther.
I know. Sorry,
but,
I know he's your favourite.
Yeah,
but
that was
I'm just bringing everything down to earth.
Another spooky thing, isn't it? Like, same birthday, from the same country, and for some reason, Maximilian Gunther's our favourite driver. What is going on? But I want to get your thoughts, actually, Catherine, on the peloton style of racing, because it's something I'm not a massive fan of. I think Nick Cassidy came a cropper to it in terms of, his crash, because obviously he, in the slowdown at turn 4 chicane, he hits Mortara, and that breaks his front wing effectively, and then later on, no one changes their front wing apart from Nico Müller, who did. So, great sentence there when immediately contradict myself. But like most drivers carried on with damaged front wings, or obviously for Cassidy that couldn't happen, and effectively part of the peloton style racing caused a massive crash, which we didn't really see in Portland. So what's your thoughts on the peloton style racing? Do you like it, or is it something that you think needs to be worked on?
I like it. As other things, there's many things to work on, and I do sort of agree with you. I think it gives a massive risk to drivers. However, I really appreciate it at the same time. I think what one needs to keep in mind, in Formula E, you don't have, the tire game, as I like to call it. You're not going to have the tactical pit stop that's where you're going to change your tires, and maybe you're going to get, a better compound that's going to work well at this track, things like that. We have a more consistent field, and I think sometimes these different styles of racing do help the drivers to have a better strategy, to maybe be one step ahead of another, and also just keep Formula E a bit exciting, because even just with the fact that we go into every weekend, we've already had 4 different winners this season, if you think about it, So imagine what's more to come. So I do appreciate it, in my opinion. I think Formula E really needs that. We didn't really see much of it last season, because I feel like every single driver I spoke to, they were like, we're a bit worried about how we're going to manage the energy, how we're going to conserve the energy. And I think now the teams are a bit more confident with these Gen 3 cars. So I think that they are ready to give it a bit more, And I enjoy it. Yeah, we're going to have the occasional crash, you're going to have the damage. But that is sort of the racing I love to see. I do not love a clean race at all.
I will say, I think Sao Paulo nailed it on the head. I think that's the happy medium. Portland was too much. Berlin 2, I think it was last year, was too much. But yeah, Sao Paulo seemed about right. And I remember last year Sao Paulo was a banging race as well. So I think it is something about that track. That track produces good racing, but I think I think Sao Paulo was sort of like that's the perfect thing. If we can nail that every weekend, that's fantastic. If we can't, well. But the thing is, it needs to be a happy medium, because it can't be what we saw in Portland, but at the same time, it can't be what we saw in Mexico.
Yeah, I disagree. I disagree. I'm not a big fan. I don't think the race in Sao Paulo and what we witnessed at the end had anything to do with the peloton style. It might have done at the start, but those safety cars changed the race for me, right? So the peloton style didn't create that race. What created that race was they just had about enough energy to get to the end, and then all of a sudden they started defending. They weren't doing that. Sam Bird said after, he was lifting off 300 meters before he was supposed to lift off, just so someone could overtake him. To me, I don't like that.
Yeah, no, I do. So I do sort of agree, because I don't like the fact that they are doing like this much, but at the same time, we can't have races like we had in Mexico or Algeria, because the thing is, people will go like, but that's the. I mean, like you're getting the same. You're getting like it's not as far away from F1 at this point,
Yeah.
and so
I think I agree with you, and I think it's it makes it a bit more challenging for the teams, I'd say, because when you're doing this style of racing, if you are just going on it just based on the energy you have already sort of prepared, and you're basically just gonna go there, conserve energy, and sort of hope for the best, it is gonna end up becoming sort of boring, I'd say. As I said, it poses a risk, but at the same time, it's motor racing. You'd love to see it. So I do think that Mexico, it was quite boring. I couldn't really.
It wasn't the best race.
Yeah, I couldn't get into it.
For me, like if you go back to the Gen 2 era, right? The Gen 2 era was quite slow. The first stage, because they were conserving their energies, but then after the halfway stage, the races kind of were like what we saw in Sao Paulo, because they'd saved enough energy so then they could go, and then you get that strategy. I don't know. It's really interesting, and that's why it's up to you guys in chat, right? What do you guys think on the Peloton style racing? I would really love your opinions. That's how this show was born. This show was born because I wanted to talk about the Peloton style of racing and get your people's, the fans' opinion on that. So make sure you come on, talk to me about the Peloton. What do you think of it? And that'll be really interesting. Catherine, before we let you go, you wanted to talk about your fantasy FE team. So I was thinking, actually, we'll go to you first, Catherine, and then we'll maybe think about our own fantasy FE teams. And if you in chat want to put your fantasy, what driver lineups would you have? Put them in chat, and we'll compare and contrast, see who comes up the most. Catherine, what two drivers would you pick? You're the team principal of the Micallef Motorsport. Who are you signing?
Who am I signing? Okay, so I was thinking about it. This is really difficult. I think I'm gonna have a mixture of like a young driver and an old driver. So I think if I had to have an old driver, I'll have Antonio Felix da Costa. Really appreciate his style of driving. His social media game is really good. So as a team principal, if I'm looking, at the marketing deals and that, Felix da Costa is who you're gonna want on your team. So have to look at everything. So yeah, I'll choose Antonio Felix da Costa. He has so much experience in Formula E, in motorsport. Have him, and I think he'll be a great mentor to have Sasha Fenestras with him.
Oh, Sasha, interesting.
I really, really like Sasha. Like, I followed him last year, and when there's that driver, and it's like, I feel like there's a storm brewing, but a really good storm. A storm that's, will make you want to stay in on a Sunday and bake and have tea and that, and And it's like, that is what he's going to make me do. He's going to, like, glue me to my TV, and I'm going to want to watch his career progress in Formula E.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Sasha's a great pick, actually. Pico, very quickly, who would you have as your team?
Honestly, like that is a really solid lineup. I mean, like, I could probably text Sergio and get him in the team now.
Sergio said camera.
No,
get him on call.
No, I'll call him. No, I'm not. I'm genuinely not. I'm not doing that. I don't want to. You're right, Sergio. You're live. Don't swear. I'm not doing that. I would. I think I'd get Jevin because he is statistically the most successful Formula E driver ever. With 2 championships. The thing is, Sasha's a really good pick, but I'm gonna go different, and I'm gonna go Jake Dennis. Because again, like you said, like Jake's a little bit younger, but like he's really, really good. I was toying on just going straight up and just doing the Jag drivers, but I think that's what I'd go for. Okay,
I'm completely missed who your second driver was, but Jake and who?
I literally said Jake Dennis.
And?
I said Jev.
Oh,
I said Jev. I said it's literally the first thing that came out my mouth.
Couldn't remember it. Short-term memory loss there.
Do you know what? I'm just going to go back to eating pizza now, just to spite you.
Me, I'll go. I'll just hit the
Enjoy doing the rest of the
who would I have? I'd have Nick Cassidy and Jake Dennis. Who else? Look at him eating his pizza. Fuming. Catherine, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. Can't wait to have you back on.
Thank you guys for having me. It was really good. I enjoyed this.
Perfect.
Like old times.
Perfect. Like old times indeed. We'll look forward to having you on in a future show. Perfect. We'll see you later.
See you guys. Have a good night.
And you. Right. I think what we need to do before we go to a break, I want to
let's get Adam on. Right, we'll get him in now. And
waiting.
Adam, you're live.
How are we?
Fine.
How did you find the race in Sao Paulo?
Oh, it was crazy, insane, and I will say that the overtake from was incredible.
Yeah, it was.
Josh, Ed, and I had an incredible time calling the race. But I want there's something that Jack G had an article on Formula E Zone. That was the series going to Australia and New Zealand.
Oh yes, Mitch Evans.
Josh Birch and I have talked about this time and time again, and
Get it in Adelaide
to happen. And I've got the.
It would be amazing.
And I've got the. Perfect scenario. Okay. You run at the Adelaide Street Circuit, where Formula One used to race at, or currently the Repco Australian Supercar Series races at. This past weekend was the Adelaide Motorsports Festival. Formula E runs there in a hype, since Formula One is at Albert Park.
Yeah,
this weekend.
Yeah.
Either that or culmination weekend with the Repco Supercar Series at Surfers Paradise.
Oh, that's
honestly, I'd absolutely love. I'd love for FE just to partner with a series. I know that they have been doing this in the States as well, because there's now a week, and I think it's in August, where IndyCar and NASCAR run at the IMS together. So
yeah, they did that last year. Yeah.
So IndyCar goes Saturday and NASCAR on the Sunday, I think it is. But the only problem with that is that lots of advertising boards would probably have to be changed very quickly overnight. But apart from that, I think I genuinely love for that to happen. I think I know that there was a very small possibility of Formula E going to St. Pete this year as the last season as well as the American round, but in the end it went to Portland. But I definitely love to see Adelaide on the calendar. I think that'd be fantastic.
I mean, why not? I mean, when Formula One used to race there, it was the season finale. It was incredible. I mean, the street circuit over there is. I mean, I always love, when the Australian Supercar Series goes there to wrap up their year. I mean, you've had the what used to be called the American Le Mans Series run there in the past. So,
I honestly, if you think about a race in Australasia, right, and it was interesting what Evan said. Evan said, Auckland was close in 2018. Obviously, it didn't go through the sort of they had an attempt, right, and that's kind of interesting. I would like to know more cities, and obviously going to New Zealand's huge, right? Australia, yes, people go to Australia, and even Mitch Evans said, getting a race in Sydney, for example, that would be amazing, right? And going somewhere like that. But it's interesting now, considering that Formula E are going to more of a circuit-based championship when you've got Albert Park, who is, if you were to maybe put the chicane back in rather than the flat run out, I don't even know if it's still there. The chicane at Albert Park, it'd be a very peloton style race, unfortunately, I think, in Albert Park. But if you could find a racetrack in Australia, in Melbourne or Sydney, or even if it was Adelaide.
It's Adelaide. Adelaide has to be the one. I think it suits FE down to the ground. Like, I think it'd be fantastic. And like, even I know that the V8 supercars, they do a shortened layout of what the F1 used to run. But even then, that layout would still be fantastic for Formula E.
Yeah. I mean, look at the crowd you've seen, the season finale of the Repco Australian Supercar Series, I know I've had friends that have gone there, and the fans love it. I mean, in Formula E in Australia, I mean, yeah, I know Nick Cassidy and Mitch Evans live in New Zealand, but I mean, you could fly from Auckland to Sydney, and I mean,
Yeah. It
why
would,
not? I mean,
yeah, it would be brilliant. It would be brilliant. It's the only sort of continent or the only area, region that Formula E really hasn't tapped into, right? And it'd be great if Formula E could eventually tap into. Adam, we're out of time, unfortunately.
Always a pleasure,
but
gents.
absolutely brilliant coming on. We have been joined, actually, really interestingly. I've just seen, and I know you saw too.
We have as well.
So, Tom. Tom Brooks is in chat. Hi, Tom. Thank you so much for tuning in. It means the world.
Hi, Tom.
Means the world. So what we're going to do, before we go to our break, before we get Nick Golding in from Racing News 365, we got a little surprise for you.
Here comes Verline out of the final corner. It's zero. Degrassi
Flat of the way,
wins.
minimum distance, flat of the way.
Degrassi wins. DaCosta's got a great run off turn 7 onto Beach Road. Is he going to go for it again into 8? Weaving all over the back. He's going for it.
This is kind of in well.
He's done it!
Oh my god.
What? Antonio Felix da Costa with a farcical move for the lead of the Cape Town Eprix. The man's on a mission.
But who is going to take the win of round 4 of the Eprix? And look at Bird go for the outside. Surely he's not going to make that stick on Mitch Evans into turn 10. Bird's done it. Absolutely amazing from Sam Bird. He comes around the final corner to win here in Sao Paulo. Sam Bird takes his first victory since 2022.
And we are back, and we are joined by Nick Golding from Racing News 365. Fresh, can I say, fresh from Brazil. How was your time in Brazil, mate?
Well, I wouldn't use the word fresh.
Yeah, no, I was about to say he's anything but fresh at the moment.
Like, I don't
He's been
want to go
on a plane for 12 hours or something.
I don't want to go as far as saying hang out of my rear end. No, I'm all right. Although, to be honest, seeing, I don't know, Pico's top lighting up his room.
Yes.
That made my day.
My brother's changed his lights to make it orange.
There we go.
Yeah.
To match.
Okay, is that the background story?
Yeah.
Is that
No, I picked it because we're both ginger, so it kind of made sense to be orange.
Also, I've gone for the McLaren Rocket Red today, so
I don't know. It kind of worked.
Not intentionally. I've just done it.
I wonder why.
Yeah. Papaya, isn't it? McLaren.
Because it's the last stop I had.
Goes with the story. As I said, it was better than the white jacket.
I'm not at home.
Better than the white jacket earlier. But
no,
I suppose we're here to talk Formula E, and I suppose we'll do that because we appreciate you obviously being on, a little bit jet lagged from Brazil. It's amazing that it's only a 3-hour difference for a 12-hour flight. But we have to start with the sort of the breaking news, or sort of the news that broke this morning or this afternoon, is surrounding the Berlin Eprix and surrounding the clash between WEC and the Spa 6 Hours and the Berlin Eprix, where 4 drivers, so you got both Envision Racing drivers in Freien, Sebastian Buemi, Nick de Vries, and Nico Müller, not being allowed to race in Spa on Saturday and then race in the Formula E race on Sunday. What have you made of that news that came out today?
To be honest, it's expected. You know, the teams who have got drivers who do both championships, they knew they were taking a risk. You know, it's 5 teams basically have voted against allowing the WEC drivers to come back for Sunday at Berlin. So it's not really a surprise. It's obviously just a massive disappointment to the likes of Robin Freins and Buemi. Freins in particular is not happy about it. I caught up with him about that in Sao Paulo. The main thing from it really is, if, you know, anyone in the chat, hello by the way, good evening, is going to Berlin, make sure you get access to the paddock for the autograph session, because the drivers that take part, basically the drivers who replace the WEC drivers, can't then take part in the Berlin rookie test. So we are probably going to have the entire Formula 2 and Formula 3 paddock in Berlin. So if there was one race I could suggest getting access to the pit lane, I would say that's the one.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going like, yeah, that sounds really cool. And remembering, no, it's Eurovision that weekend, so I'm not going anywhere near Berlin.
Priorities, Priorities.
Well,
priorities.
The thing that'll be really interesting, obviously, with Misano as well, we've got the FP0, which is effectively a rookie session for 11 drivers. Each team can run one car. So I'm not a betting man in the slightest, but I would imagine that the 11 drivers that feature in Misano FP0, is what it's titled as, will most likely then go and feature in Berlin. So it makes things interesting. It's going to be quite different. But yeah, it's just a calendar clash that should never have happened, basically.
Yeah, that's what I want to talk about. Like, who's at fault here? Like you've got the FIA and and you've got Formula E, and they know that they've got drivers, and we used to have tons of drivers, right? And they've left for various reasons, Da Costa being one of them, mainly probably for this reason, not being allowed to drive in WEC. Like, who's at fault here? Like, why can't they work together, these two racing organizations, and come up with a calendar where we don't have a clash?
I mean, something that was really interesting, actually, that Robin Freins pointed out, is that there's actually quite a few people who work across both FE and WEC. It's also
God, what's Sam Smith gonna do? I just remembered that. Yeah,
that is the £1 million question.
Is he banned? Is he banned? Can he not go?
But we love Sam though. Yeah, but it's really interesting because it's gonna, it's, if this happens now, who says it's not gonna happen again in the future? The FIA do play a part because it's them who've obviously ultimately approved the calendars. So, I think it's one of those things, to be honest. It's not ideal. We've got to get on with it. but it means that we're going to see a lot of new Formula E drivers, which is actually really exciting.
Yeah, what do you think Envision
Yeah,
do here?
personally, I'm really like if anyone from Envision's watching, Alice Powell, for the love of God, put Alice in.
Well, it would be amazing.
Thank you.
But
that's my Oxfordshire bias out the way. Continue.
Yeah, that was my question. What do Envision do here? They've got 2 drivers, right? Who are gonna miss 2 races. They didn't have the greatest of weekends in Sao Paulo. You know, they want to be fighting for points, and to put 2 rookies in for 2 races, it's a bit of a tough one for them.
Well, you mentioned there Envision, and one thing which has become famously known with the Hankook tyres is how difficult it is to generate any heat into them because the compound is so hard. Envision in Sao Paulo were overheating the tyres. That was their big problem throughout the weekend, that they were suffering from overheated tyres. The other big issue that the majority of the drivers suffered from was derating. That's a word that, to be honest, I think most of the drivers are going to want banned from the Formula E dictionary. Effectively, derating was or is when a driver is unable to use the full power they've got available or the full energy because their battery is overheating. So, for example, Mitch Evans had this happen to him with the final lap, which is why he wasn't really able to put up too much of a fight from Sam Bird. The move by Sam was phenomenal. However, without saying like a Billy No Mates, if Mitch didn't have the derate problem, Mitch would have won. He had more energy than Sam. Same with Jake Dennis, why he suddenly went from 3rd to 5th on the exit of the last corner. Oliver Rowland, by the way, what a move.
Yep.
So Antonio Felix Costa was another one. There were so many drivers who suffered from this. And what's really interesting is that even though, so the air temperature was 35 degrees, track temp was 60. So it was really similar conditions to Rome. But actually in Rome, they didn't have the overheating problem. So yeah, for a lot of drivers, we're saying it's the first time they've had this. So it was a new element to the peloton, which returned with a bang. But thankfully, not a battery bang.
Was it a peloton?
So say that again?
Was the race a peloton race? Like,
I think
because
the thing is,
with the safety cars.
It was a peloton, but the problem now that a lot of the drivers spoke about before the race, they have had the peloton now for almost the entirety of season 9. They know what to expect now. They understand how the concept works, which means it's now more strategic. They know, for example, Sam Bird, actually led the majority of the race. We saw last season, particularly in Sao Paulo last year, Stoffel led the bulk of the race and finished 6th because being in the lead wasn't the place to be. The drivers and the teams have learned now how to use the peloton. For me, I'll be honest, in the opening laps, it was a bit much. I was sitting with Stefan Mackley from Autosport in the media centre, and we were both thinking this is, you can tell we've not had this style since June.
We had 212 overtakes in 45 minutes. Like, I know we didn't see half of them, right? But like, it's that, and half of that was in the first 20 minutes.
For me, though, as soon as after the second safety car, for me, is when the race became really, really good.
Yes.
It was just, the first half for me, I was a bit uneasy. But in the second half, I thought was brilliant. I think the ending and the D-rate issues just added another element to what was, for me, by far after the race of the season, and possibly because of the way it finished, possibly one of the best of the Gen 3 era so far.
Oh, I do agree, 100%.
I'd agree with that.
I'm not saying it was a
bad race. I
think
of any other good races last year.
I don't believe the peloton is what made that race. I think what made that race was the safety cars, and then for whatever and the D rates, and the overheating issues made that race what it was.
Yeah, I think the D-rate team played a bigger part, and that's probably the last time we can see that this season.
Don't say overheating is that we're going to go to Saudi Arabia in June next year. if that's the case.
But did you, from just chatting to the drivers in Sao Paulo, like, did they? I suppose they don't know, but did anyone had any ideas to why there was so many D-rates? Why that had happened? Because they're not going to tell us, oh yeah, we fixed it. We're not going to tell you because they do that all the time. But like, did anyone have any inkling or were a bit confused? Maybe led to any explanations?
From the ones I spoke to, you've also got to think the drivers compared to Rome, the drivers are using more power for longer because of the 3 long straights. So to be honest, it was a shock. Nissan were the only team who actually really expected it to happen. Ollie said afterwards in the press conference that, Nissan, knew this would be the case. But actually they had worked around and figured out what to do when that happens, which is why all of a sudden, he had, he suffered from derating, but actually he then found a bit of pace towards the end because Nissan knew what to do, which meant he could capitalise on Pascal and Jake. So, Nissan powertrains in general were, the big winners because, Sam as well. And what a win, by the way. Yeah. I know you've already discussed it, but I think I didn't see one unhappy person in the media centre in the media.
Yeah,
100%.
It was. No. I said earlier in the show, you find it would be pretty hard to find anyone who's like not happy with that result
because the story's brilliant. The story's brilliant, right? It goes from his own team in Envision, goes to Jaguar, it doesn't work out, gets a fresh start at McLaren, and we see the old Sam Bird that I think fans have been crying out to see.
Exactly, and it was just he's had for multiple reasons a really, really tough 2-3 years. To see him back on top, to see McLaren, that's another championship, another category they can add to the records as being race winners. It's I said actually when I spoke to Sam after race 2 in Diriyah, okay, he crashed after hitting he retired after hitting the wall there. I said to him, you know what, I've got a feeling that McLaren are the dark horses. If your efficiency is good in Sao Paulo, if you get a good result in Brazil, that's the icing on the cake. That shows you're both quick over one lap.
Yep.
And you can then deal with the big team, with the Jags and the Porsches in the race. When I asked Sam after his win if he's, would he say he's a title contender on McLaren dark horses, he was like, no. Yeah. Although he said to ask again if he wins in Tokyo. I honestly think yes. I really think McLaren in particular, they've worked really well with Nissan. Potentially, I think that's the best collaboration currently in Formula E. They seem to be clicking as a duo more than all the others, which is resulting in back-to-back podiums for Ollie and now a win for Sam.
Nick, quick question: are you in Tokyo?
I'm not. I'm now going to cry.
Okay.
No, I'm
not. Because I was going to ask if you could ask Sam if he had a bet with Zach if you won a race or something.
Right. We'll wait till Misano/Monaco.
When's? No, you'll be in Misano. Ask him in Misano.
Just off the cuff. I wanted to bring up something that Sam said to you that you put in your interview, which I found in your story. Sorry, I found really interesting.
Yeah, I know where it's going.
Where he said about the negative media comments.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking about this myself because I remember writing a feature for the Formula Reason magazine and it went on the website too, where I kind of, I kind of pitched the McLaren move as his swan song, effectively. Like, this is his last chance, right? And he has to go and prove himself. And I was like, I'm not saying Sam
this is all your fault.
I'm not saying Sam read my article, right? He might have done. But I know I was like reflecting. I was like, I don't think I was too harsh. I was kind of saying like, this is it, right? This is your chance to prove yourself, and I think he's done that already. Winning in Sao Paulo. I think he's already proved that he's a Sam Bird.
I think he proved that by coming fourth in Diriyah 1.
Probably true as well. Yeah. But what did you make of those comments?
So it was really interesting. So I'm not going to name names, but there has been, over the last few years, or two years in particular, there's been a lot of negative press about Sam, particularly after Hyderabad, after Jakarta, and the instance with Mitch, which arguably, potentially cost Mitch the title last season. He received. Oh,
right. No, sorry. Hang on. I've just been told that Laney has had to bleach his hair. So Stephen Lane, Sam's race engineer, for the win.
Nice.
Yeah, there we go. That's a bet that we've just been told about. Sorry, continue.
So particularly after Hyderabad and Jakarta, following the instance with Mitch, Sam received a significant amount of negative media. Now, a lot of drivers don't use Twitter in particular. They don't read articles about them, mainly because they're told not to. Because it's all about remaining in the right mental mindset. Not letting things like this get the better of you. And as Sam pointed out, he's a human being. Words do hurt. and they hurt him. But actually, he, particularly this season, has used that as motivation to push himself and show that, you know what, Bird is back. He is still here, and he's shown that he remains one of the quickest and one of the best drivers on our grid.
Yeah, and for sure, I thought it was a really interesting comment, and I think it was a good little story that he told you, because I thought, it's nice. It's nice to think, not nice to think, but like it's nice to see that human side, I think, from Sam Bird, and that things that affect him, and reminding people that things do hurt, but as a sportsman, I suppose he needed to use that as motivation, and he's expressed that with his win, which I thought was really interesting.
Sorry about Sam.
Go on.
He obviously, for those who saw the press conference, he was saying that he was going to have a big celebration afterwards.
Yep.
He didn't. He had a few beers and went to his hotel room.
Fair enough. Were you staying in the same hotel?
We were, and then he got downgraded on British Airways.
Yeah, I thought that as well. Obviously,
Wait, sorry, you got downgraded or Sam did?
No, I didn't.
Sam did.
If I got downgraded, I'd be with all the suitcases. Can't get me lower.
I was about to say, they're not flying you out first class, are they?
Not a chance. No, my knees behind.
Clearly, British Airways.
I went to a cinema today, and the seats were amazing. They're reclined and everything. I could put my feet up. There was so much room. Brilliant.
Can I say one thing that you were talking about earlier?
Yep.
FE in Australia.
Yep, go for it.
Now, obviously, again, this is something that some of the drivers, particularly obviously Nick and Mitch, would love to see. Not Australia. Spoke to Formula E CEO Jeff Dodds, did a brilliant roundtable during the weekend. Australia, it is a bit difficult because they're keeping carbon emissions down. You've got to look at how we get everything there. However, for those who obviously keep our Formula E news, Dodds met in Paris last week the Prime Minister of Thailand. Now, Thailand are interested in hosting Formula E. Some Formula E staff are actually going to investigate an area in Thailand this week.
Nice. Thailand, I think, have been interested for a while. This is the first time I've heard of Thailand.
There's more.
Go on.
So, we may potentially be getting another race in Southeast Asia because Malaysia have been in talks about hosting a race.
I've heard about that as well.
Those talks were happening before Thailand, and Malaysia have come out in their press. Basically, they're concerned that they're going to lose out on a Southeast Asia race to Thailand. I asked Jeff, would Malaysia miss out to Thailand, or could we have both? He sees no reason why not. He sees no reason why we can't have two races. So it's not, nothing's done and certain. There needs to be investigations if it's possible. But we could be having FE in Thailand and Malaysia.
And this was the same.
Peugeot was banging.
Yeah, this was the same with Auckland, right? When I was speaking to Mitch Evans, he was like, basically, the same situation happened, right? There was that investigation around Auckland, where people went out and had a look and so forth. But then, what you said with the America's Cup and so forth and other things that were going on, they just couldn't squeeze it in or couldn't find a time to fit it in that was appropriate, and it went by the wayside. So obviously, like, we're talking about this now, we're not saying that Thailand and Malaysia are going to happen, but
no, at the moment it's just talks. But obviously the countries have expressed an interest. They want it, but obviously it depends. I've seen in the comments. From what I understand, it won't be in Bangkok. They're going to investigate. And anybody who's from Thailand.
Yeah, no, hang on. I
should know this because I quite literally wrote about it.
I had a look about it when you did the article. I had a look.
But anyway, I struggle enough with English.
I struggle enough with English. I think we all struggle enough with English.
Chiang Mai.
There you go. Yeah, that's the area they're going to investigate.
It's a shame it's not Bangkok in a way.
Sort of northwest Thailand.
Yes, it's northwestern Thailand. But you know what? Regardless, it's a city.
Thailand,
I will say though, the whole we can't go to Australia because of thing. I mean, we are the series that is going to jump from Europe to
China,
Portland, back to Europe for the UK round in London.
The big difference, though, with that is that you look at.
If we're in Malaysia or Jakarta, it's not far.
Yeah.
But the problem with that is you look at, for example, Portland to London. There's a 5-week gap because obviously for those who potentially don't know Formula E,
3.
Uh,
There's a 3-week gap. I think there might be a 5-week gap beforehand to
Sorry,
Shanghai.
yeah, China Portland's 5-week gap. Obviously, for those who aren't aware, Formula E they use a boat.
Yes, they do.
Basically,
Yep.
to get the stuff around, and obviously to get that then to Australia, that's what will then cause a problem because you then got to look into the calendar. You know, that's going to require a lot of time to get stuff there, to get stuff off the boat, and then to get stuff to the next place. So, you know, if we were to say have a race in either Australia or New Zealand, the problem is that it would then cause, you know, you'd have to have a lengthy break.
Do it just before Christmas. Do it just before Christmas. You got a 5-week break sorted.
I slightly the problem is, right, if you go back to season 1, season 2, season 3 of Formula E, and when they wanted this calendar ethos where, oh, you know, we're not gonna fly from what we're doing right now, right, UK back to China, then, you know, US and England and so forth, and you're hopping here, there and everywhere, which if you're talking about, I know there's a big week gaps between it, but still, like, that's still a big move from China to Portland and to the UK. That's still a big move. So I feel like if you put, let's say, all right, we've got a Chinese race. Well, start the season in Australia. I know you've got deals that start in Diriyah, but even if you start in Diriyah, right, or Mexico, wherever they want to start, you can even start in Mexico and travel it around the Pacific Ocean. It's a long journey, but it will still get to Australia and then go up to China, and you can actually start having a bit more of an efficient calendar. And I think that's part of Formula E's ethos, which they've gone away from. And if I get a chance to speak to maybe Jeff Dodds in the future, that could be a question that we put to him, because you know, whether we get to do that in a race or so forth, because it is interesting the way that the calendar is currently.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'm a massive fan of Jeff. I think he's a brilliant CEO. I think he's wanting to get Formula E to more countries. You know, he's, you know, meeting with, you know, several, you know, prime ministers and presidents, and he wants to get, you know, FE to places where there's never been racing.
He's very much an open book as well. I think
he's the man who will get it done.
Yeah. He's very much an open book, as in, like,
he's a lovely guy. He's a lovely guy.
You could, because I mean, we haven't chatted to him, but obviously you have, Nick. But you could probably just wander up to him and you'd have a little chat. He is someone that you just go for a pint with in a pub.
Well, I think I was chatting to him on the grid. He's
lovely jubbly, hey, lovely jubbly.
He's a really good guy.
Now, as I said, looking forward to hopefully once we get to maybe Monaco or Berlin, maybe having that chat to him, put those questions, because I think Formula E needs a refresh, right? I know we've got some cities, and you know, I know there's Los Angeles potentially coming as well for next season, but I do think the calendar needs a bit of a refresh. I think we need to obviously keep the core cities, your Berlins, your Londons, and so forth. But in terms of getting some fresh cities into the calendar, I do think that is important, especially because we've got a lot of double headers, and if you're going to keep those lot of double headers, then you can pile up the calendar in other places. But yeah, I think, what was it? It's about half past.
Yeah.
Any final questions that you want to pick, Nick, before we let him go and recover from his long journey? Because I really want to get Lou in.
Go to bed, Nick.
Nick,
I won't be able, because for me, my head thinks it's just almost 6:30.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, Nick, where are them thunderstorms at?
It's funny you say that, because actually it was on, what day was it? There was no thunderstorms.
I think it was like Thursday. I think it was the Thursday, weren't it? I think you sent us the. Yeah.
Yeah, it was Thursday evening. All of a sudden, it was melt. I've never known. I've been to some hot countries in my life. I've never known heat more the humidity like it before in my life. But yeah, it was really weird. But then we had a rainbow on the racetrack. We had a massive downpour for like 10 minutes. It was weird, but I think that's just Brazil for you, isn't it? I think we all remember the Brazilian Grand Prix a couple of years ago, and
2016.
You know, qualifying and just watching the storm roll in. It's a wild country.
Worst weatherman in the world.
Yeah. You know what? Next race, that's going to be Nick's weather reports. It's going to become a real thing. I think this is.
No. You need to add that to your notebook, your notepad, Nick's notepad. You need to add the weather update.
Actually, okay.
I got it.
We need to address this, because this is right. Okay. So some of you may have noticed that Nick started doing some pit
and
walks.
did a brilliant job of it, by the way.
Yeah, no. I was going to create a statement. I never got around to it. Basically, I mean, I'm not going to be at the race anymore, so I'm more than happy to hand over the baton to you, so you can do the pit walks from here on out, Nick. And I will receive 20% commission. if that's all right. Thank you.
18.5 you got to do.
How
Okay, yeah,
No, to
fantastic.
be fair, in saying that, it's like I don't. Pico, your pit walks are legendary, and if mine can be even 1% as good, like it's, I don't think people necessarily understand, how difficult and daunting doing a pit walk is. I don't know how. I don't know how
I
you've
want
done
to
it.
point out, at least you have a notebook.
Yeah.
Mine, I selfie stick one hand.
Notepad.
Yeah,
Come on,
notepad. Sorry.
Come on, get it right.
Yeah, no, that's why I went with pit walk.
Crazy.
That's why I went with pit walk, because there was nothing there. But yeah, no, I had selfie stick one hand and then the microphone in the other hand. So I had to memorize my notes before I went to the pit lane.
Yes, I did edit it myself. I saw Ed's comment. I actually edited it myself as well.
Oh, excellent stuff. Well done.
Although nowhere near as many videos that Ed's had to edit for Pico. So I will say that.
Rene's asked
there
a
was
question.
one I think in Marrakesh where I was going down the pit lane. I got to Cheetah, and so we move on to Cheetah now, and I went, can't remember anything. It'll come to me in a minute. Ed, just cut this bit out. So yeah, the amount of times that I did have to do that for Ed.
The thing that was crazy is that I went after qualifying, after FP1. Obviously, I went into the pit lane, and for those obviously who saw the race, it's a really weird pit lane because it's like half the size.
Yeah, no, I never had that.
Half on one side, half on the other. Now FP1 was fine because they had the fans open. You had fans waving. There was some shouting Brazil. After the race, because of the way the pit lane is. I tried to get on there, but it was closed because the DHL seat was smack bang in the middle.
Jack will remember very well.
London,
I almost got run over by one after interviewing set a camera.
I nearly fell upstairs. That was fun. I don't know how you do it, mate. I'm going to take out notepad insurance to this, right?
Honestly, for your first attempt, I thought you did an absolutely
I really
stunning
appreciate
job.
it.
So,
I mean, if you look at my first one, it's a ball of waffle. Honestly, if you look at my last one, it's a ball of waffle as well.
Just all balls of waffle, basically.
Really is waffle.
Yeah, legendary.
Yeah. Oh,
waffle.
thank you, sir. Thank you.
There you go, Nick. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on. We'll have you on for Tokyo, even though you're not there, of course, in your regular slot. And I've just realised
you're just breaking my heart even more now.
Yeah, I know.
Yes, I know. I'm off to Tokyo.
I've realised I've made an error as well. I forgot to put your lower third up. That's like part of the agreement, but never mind.
Oh no!
Little slip
How
there.
dare you? I
I'm
say
so
all
sorry.
these nice things, and you forget my lower.
I'm so sorry. Should I pull up now? I forgot. I didn't click the thing.
Yeah, no. We'll add it in post.
No.
What?
No.
Nick at 9 is becoming Nick at no more.
Yeah.
It's this.
Yeah.
But as always, guys, thank you so much.
Follow him on socials and everything like that. And keep an eye on his my approved
Twitter,
pit walk.
YouTube. Oh, he's done it. Look at that. Twitter, Instagram, anything on Racing News 365 and the YouTube videos. Hopefully, there's going to be some more Formula E videos coming. I am really trying, guys. Come on, we need to make FE as big as we can. Oh, is there time for one more topic?
Go on.
Sorry.
Very quickly.
Yes. Do you know who was there?
Bernie
Fittipaldi
and Bernie
and
Felipe
and Bernie.
Felipe,
Bernie, before the first ever race of Formula E, called Formula E. Basically, it was like racing lawnmowers. He said that Formula E is now at the same level as Formula 1, which, coming from the man who literally ran F1 for over 40 years,
Where's your story?
he was. It's going live in the morning, so keep an eye on that. He was his words. Formula E was super, super, super. That Sao Paulo was his first ever FE race. And he accepted he was wrong. He was actually blown away by the sport. That in itself is the biggest positive that we need right now. After all the hardcore F1 fans, the amount of crap we get from them, to say that Bernie, at 93 years old, bless him, in the 35-degree heat at Sao Paulo, can say that FE is at the same level as F1. And on that note, mic drop. Guys, thank you as always.
Nick, it's been an cheers, Nick. Absolute pleasure. Take that lower third off now, I think.
Yeah. No, it's been up there too long.
Far too long. Right,
I was going to say something else and I've forgotten, but we're going to get Lou in now.
Yeah, because he's been waiting patiently, and you've
been waiting so
long. And Lou, welcome to the FE bar. I'm so honoured to have you on. What do you want to talk about? Tell me about Sao Paulo.
Yeah, Sao Paulo was a really interesting race again.
What?
I don't know really. Yeah.
Talk to me about well, anyone that impressed you, Sam Bird's move, like yeah.
Yeah, Sam Bird's move was really impressive. Looked really good. Really spectacular at the end. But yeah, indeed, Evans had the issue with his battery, so it's always a little bit of give and take in the moment, and what you hear afterwards. That's always a thing in Formula E.
Yeah. What did you make of the Peloton style racing? Are you a fan of it?
Generally speaking, I'm not a fan of it at all. Actually, Portland is still sometimes in my nightmares, but no, I'm not really a fan of it. But this was borderline okay, I would say. This was watchable.
I think
first half, still you have sometimes moments that that you have the idea that people don't want to lead, and that you really see a queue of two cars on the left and on the right just bunching up together, and that's feels not really like racing.
Yeah.
So there are lots of overtakes, but there isn't really that sense of urgency and excitement and skill level involved in that for me personally.
Yeah. Do you think, right, just as a racing fan, very quickly, like if there was 2 overtakes, right, technically 3 overtakes, if the only overtakes in that race was Sam Bird's overtake for the win and Roland's overtake for 3rd place, but we had that tension, we had that battle, they were really close together, would you consider that a good race still, just because we had that drama right at the end and we got those overtakes, or would that still be classed as a dull race, do you think?
I would say that's a good race, because even sometimes in other series there's not a lot of overtaking, still the tension of it almost happening or the build up to an overtake can really be exciting, and that feels a little bit missing sometimes in Formula E, especially in the first part of a race. Because also in Portland, the last, what was it, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, were actually really exciting, with the drivers really on the edge of it, really pushing, almost going off the track, half in the dirt, really on the edge of it, and that's actually really exciting to watch. So that for me is more likable to watch.
I have to.
The first,
I know, sorry, I have to agree, because the Nick Cassidy, because obviously he won that race in Portland, and then those last couple of laps, he was superb, and once he realised he'd saved enough energy, then he broke. And I just feel like Formula E, if we can try and harness what we had in that Gen 2, I don't mind the dull start where they're conserving energy. It's kind of the same in Formula 1, right? When they're conserving the tyres before they attack. But at least in Formula E, once the attack happens, craziness could happen, and that was the beauty of Gen 2.
Yeah, definitely. I also think saw Nikki in chat earlier say it would be a good thing to, in city tracks, have the peloton style racing.
Yep.
And on the normal circuits to have a more flat out style racing, if I understand the message correctly. And I think actually that would maybe be a very good solution.
It could be a good
idea. That I like.
It makes sense.
I definitely
right?
before that.
Because obviously on the street circuits it's harder to overtake, but then it's easier to overtake on the flat out street circuit. So
exactly,
it would make sense.
I think that would really be a good solution.
Yeah. Final thing, Lou. Before we head to a break, Tokyo, new track for everyone, right? So, what do you think's going to happen in Tokyo? That's what we're going to talk about to sort of end the show. What do you think's going to happen in Tokyo?
I haven't really thought about that, but
put you on the spot.
Well, it's a new track, so the Formula E knowing it will be sort of chaos, and some teams will really falter through, and some will have it really organized. Also, don't know if they really have the information of the track for the simulator and all that. I think
they would pretty much by now. They'll probably be getting the latest model, and they'll be testing that probably this week.
Then hopefully they have it prepared.
If you put one man to win the race, who's winning in Tokyo?
Wehrlein.
Verline. To be fair, I'll take a Verline win. I think that would make the championship spicy if Verline won. Lou, absolutely amazing, right? Your English, by the way, fantastic. I know that's been something of a bit of a worry, but you've done an absolutely amazing job, right? I hope the whole chat is proud of you and the community because you've done a smashing job coming on. And thank you so much.
Thank you too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Right, what we're going to do is we're going to take a small 5-minute break. Then we'll talk about a couple of other things, and then we will wrap up the show, Mr. Pickering. Is that okay? If anyone wants to come on, anyone wants to come on, your chance in the waiting room to come on is on.
Get in the chat. Someone's going to put the... Hang on, no, that way. Someone's going to put the link in the live chat that's there.
Yeah, I'll put the link in the live chat, or Mr. Edward Hunter might put the link in the live chat. And if anyone wants to come on and have a little chat with us before the end of the show, feel free. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. And we are back for the last little bit of the show. We're going to bring Natalie back in. Natalie wants to come on and say hello again. So we're going to bring Natalie in. Natalie, welcome back to the FE Bar. Started the show. Could be closing the show. What do you want to say?
Just basically pick on Nick Cassidy and how he still leads the championship surprisingly after a DNF by 3 points.
He is, and you just reminded me, and I'm writing it down furiously. I've made the championship standings again. I nearly forgot to show them. So, 100%. Write that down. Make sure we show that before the end. Otherwise, I would have wasted 20 minutes of my time.
I'd say put it on now if we're talking about it.
We could do. I can put it on now. I was going to leave it to the end of the show.
Nick leads. I think it's Pascal second.
Yeah, so
and then we'll see after.
Yeah, Pascal second. Sam's 6th.
Yep, correct.
Yeah, which is solid, not bad.
Yeah, we'll put this up towards the end. So Nick Cassidy, we'll just run through it very quickly, Natalie. So Nick Cassidy 57, Pascal Wehrlein there in 53. So the gap is. I don't know if that was right because I thought it was 3 points, but I've got it there as 4 points. Mitch Evans on 39, John-Eric Van 39, Jake Dennis on 38, Sam Bird. So it's really close in that third, fourth, fifth, sixth spot. And then Oliver Rowland 7th. Max is 8th. Robin and Sebastian Buemi 19 and 18. So really tight between Mitch Evans and Oliver Rowland there. And a bit like last season where we had Pascal, maybe Jake running away with it. Looks like it's Nick Cassidy this time and Pascal Wehrlein running away with it. So talk to me about that in terms of the championship race, because last season it all changed, but sort of all changed. It wasn't Wehrlein pulled away, but Jake Cassidy. Jake Dennis.
Jake Cassidy.
Yeah,
Jake Cassidy. Yeah.
Jake Dennis kind of stayed there. So what do you make on the championship so far?
It's anyone's, basically. Like I say to people time and time again, Nick could be leading now and third come London. It could swing the way of McLaren. It could swing the way of Jaguar. It's Formula E, you know. Never discount anyone.
No, indeed. It's too early to say who do you think will the championship. Do you think the champion though is coming from a Jaguar driver or the Porsche power? Do you think that's where the champion's coming from?
I think it could come from one of three powertrains: Jaguar, Nissan, or Porsche.
So you think Nissan actually have a chance?
Nissan, not DS.
I do think Nissan have a chance, and that's me putting my neck on the line if they don't.
So Nissan is in with Roland and Sasha, or Nissan with McLaren, or both?
Which one do you think?
The Nissan powertrain.
So you think that both McLaren and Nissan could have a good chance?
A very good chance with how well they've been performing lately.
They have been performing well. It'd be interesting to see what happens when we get back to the circuits of Misano, Shanghai, and Portland, and if that changes things slightly, because obviously we've had Diriyah Street Track 2 races, Sao Paulo Street Track, Mexico semi-racetrack, where the Porsche did really well. So
yeah.
It'd be interesting to see what happens there.
Yeah, I think it'd be good to get into the Cassidy thing as well, because I'll be honest, I sort of missed it. Every time they brought a replay up, my head was like I wasn't looking at the screen.
Yeah, basically his front wing just went under the front nose.
Yeah, did he tap the car in front?
He tapped Mortara, didn't he? He tapped Mortara earlier in the race, and then the front wing broke a couple of laps later.
Okay.
It was very London-esque, that one.
Okay, yeah. That sounds about right.
It's like when Seb defended last year and Nick hit him then right in front of me, because it happened in turn 2-3 and I was in that grandstand. It was very much like that.
I bet you had a great time.
And he hit the wall. Oh god!
I bet you had a great time watching that. Yeah.
I was calling Seb every name under the sun, which I will not.
I think Nick was as well, to be honest.
It wasn't a good day. It wasn't a good day. Right, Natalie, I think we'll let you go. We'll let you enjoy the last couple of minutes of the show. We're going to talk about a couple of drivers that we want to talk about, and then we'll look ahead to Tokyo before we wrap up the show in about 10 minutes' time. But Natalie, is absolutely a pleasure having you on. It's great having you on, and looking forward to hopefully having you on for the Tokyo show.
Let's hope.
And fingers crossed.
Let's hope work doesn't get too busy.
Let's hope that. Let's fingers crossed for that too. We all want fingers crossed for that. But
I need money, so.
Yeah, everyone needs money.
Yeah.
Way of life.
Yeah.
We all need money.
Yeah.
All right then. Right, thanks for coming on. If anyone else would like to come on, the waiting room's still there. Discord, we will try and squeeze you in.
There is someone. Shall we get Reliable in?
Very quickly, we can maybe chat to Ed about. I'll bring in my Edward Hunter. How are you?
Oh, hi guys.
Hello. Thank you again for vetting the show. I want to ask a question actually. I want to talk about Pascal Wehrlein. I was going to talk about Maximilian Gunther, but I thought we should talk about Wehrlein, because Wehrlein is kind of doing what Wehrlein does. Just goes under the radar. No one's really like talking about him for the
We
championship.
forgot that he was on pole position, didn't
Yeah,
we?
but that's what I mean. We forgot, right? We've just forgotten.
Also, we haven't even talked about qualifying. 0.02 of a second.
Yeah, that
was insane.
That was insane. But Pascal Wehrlein, we've got a 2-hour show. We still can't fit everything in. But Pascal Wehrlein.
And we forget most things.
And we
Should
forget
we
it
talk
as well.
about The Apprentice in a bit from the other
Should we
week
do-
that we didn't get to?
I know.
We did have a big, more pressing issue that week, though.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But
Cheers,
anyway,
Tom.
Pascal Wehrlein, he just doing what he kind of did last season, kind of went under the radar. And, great start to the season, put it on pole. If it probably wasn't if it was a more flat out race, again, he could have won that race.
Well, that was exactly what happened in Mexico, wasn't it?
Exactly. No questions. So, how impressed have you been with him? Because everyone's kind of looking at Jake Dennis. Everyone's kind of looking at Nick Cassidy, maybe Mitch Evans for the title, and looking at those three. And we're kind of forgetting Pascal Wehrlein, and I think we're kind of wrong to do that.
Yeah, I think so, because he's certainly capable of some really, really stunning pace. And we thought at the beginning of this season that he seemed to have ironed out some of the issues. As of it was bad qualifying that really just destroyed his season at the back end of last year, wasn't it? Where the Porsches would always anonymous in qualifying and have to fight their way through the pack, it would seem. And it was interesting. The Porsches, Da Costa was trying to gain places early on in Sao Paulo, and there was an interesting radio message where he just sort of cut across, while Bird was taking attack mode and emerging back in the lead. Da Costa was cutting across Wehrlein at turn 3, and Wehrlein was like, "What the hell is he doing?" Essentially, which I thought was kind of interesting. And then, of course, it seemed to me right near the end, Porsche just played it really, really conservatively and there was a sort of statement from them saying, we expected the race to turn out differently, and it didn't. So
yeah, it was really interesting because hearing from Pascal Wehrlein after the race, they were really disappointed. They were quite down. They were like, yeah, it was a good weekend. They say that because they want to say it was a bad weekend, but they were like, really and truly, we didn't do well in the race. They didn't do well enough in the race. They didn't take advantage, and it was too late by the time they could.
Yeah, especially when you qualify on pole, you do hope to succeed and take victory, of course, even if it is only by 0.02 of a second. It was interesting as well that there was that duel with both the DS Penske's, and they sort of I think I heard something about him just sort of letting off Van Dorn so that he would have a better chance of getting it through to the final or something like that. I watched qualifying afterwards, so I only sort of caught up with the highlights. But yeah, it was again, DS Penske had a bit of an anonymous race. But yeah, in terms of the championship, whether Wehrlein can fight back from this, I think he absolutely can. I think it's just a matter of Porsche might have to once again prioritize him over Da Costa, because I think Da Costa, again, when the energy management came to the fore, he sort of just dropped back. But he was even more conservative, I think, than Da Costa, and lost out even more places because of it. And Wehrlein, I think, really hoped to get Dennis at the end. And then because Dennis defended quite so much, because Porsche clearly didn't factor Dennis into their race plan, that meant that Pascal just got stuck behind him and then got completely blocked. And I think Pascal said the powertrain, in fact, shut down on that run to the line, essentially. Oh, no, it was Dennis's powertrain that shut down the run to the line, which is why he was 5th. And Pascal, who had hoped to finally get him at the final corner, saw Roland just shoot up the inside of him. And there's that, I guess, feeling of it should have been me, really, which would explain all that disappointment. But yeah, Porsche, we haven't seen the last of them yet, and I don't think it's season over after one disappointing race, but certainly they need to make sure that things don't spiral out of control like they did in the back end of last year, where it was just race after race of, there was bad luck, but it all stemmed from horrible qualifying, and at least they're getting qualifying right at the moment, which is certainly going to put them in good stead.
Yeah, it's interesting, right?
Yeah, Nick's just said in chat that Da Costa's D rating was one of the worst in the field, so yeah.
Yeah, because it's kind of like what Roland said earlier, like he was kind of shocked to find himself moving forward and basically find himself moving forward and passing Da Costa. He was happy with 7th, and then he ended up in 5th, and then he ended up in 3rd. So it was pretty good for Roland. But yeah, I suppose while you're here, we might as well talk about DS Penske, because again, Van Dorn finally doing something, right? It felt like in Sao Paulo, a really
he was on pole there last year, wasn't he?
Yeah, a really strong performance, and we're like, "Whoa, this is the Van Dorn." So he's got something about Sao Paulo, and obviously Jean-Eric Vergne, a bit unlucky that both DSs had to verse against each other.
The thing is with Van Dorn is last year he started on pole, finished 6th. This year he started 2nd, finished 7th. It's next year it's 3rd and 8th. I'm going to put some money on it.
But then, well, it's going to be a new powertrain next year. But at the same time,
I know.
What I'm thinking is there's obviously they've got good innate pace, the DS, right? And obviously they've got Phil Charles, and it was his first race, right? And I can't believe we got to 9:55, and this is the first time that we're talking about it. But so we're expecting big things now from DS. So going into next season, I think we're expecting, they've made this, and there's been such a big deal about Phil Charles, who, by the way, was very eccentric. I really enjoyed his, he doesn't look like he'd be a person that'd be quite eccentric, but he was very joyful in the press conference and on live TV. So I would be looking forward to interviewing him one day, because he was very open and honest about a lot of things.
I shared a front row of an EasyJet flight from Valencia to Stansted.
With Phil Charles?
With no, Gatwick.
Yeah.
It was Stansted or Gatwick. I can't remember.
One of the two.
But yeah, no, yeah,
but
it was Dennis, Charles, Phil Charles, me, Space, Sylvain Philippe, Jean Verne.
Good flight, that. Probably wasn't going to
good flight.
Stansted.
Yeah.
Not with those names on it. But
it was EasyJet though, so you never know.
Never know. But going back to this, I think next season we're expecting a lot from them, right, Pico? And this season, I suppose with Jev and Van Dorn, it'll be interesting to see what can happen with software. But I think the car just has innate pace. It has the pace to qualify well to be in the duels, right? And I think they've shown that fairly consistently last season and consistently this season. It's just the race pace. For whatever reason, they're not mastering the races.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, Formula E is so competitive. So if you get like one thing wrong, then you definitely haven't got a chance at the win. Maybe not a chance at the podium, and you might just scrape onto some points, which is sort of what DS has been doing for like the last couple of years. Even though Jev won in Hyderabad last year, it just they haven't been at the forefront where, because when we left Valencia in season 9, it was right. How can anyone stop DS Penske from dominating this championship? And then that didn't work out at all. And so it's definitely an interesting one. It's clear that they're splashing the cash on it to get Phil Charles over from Jag. I wouldn't be surprised if DS Penske are a lot more competitive, especially next season when we get the new powertrain cycle coming.
And the amount of gold paint they've got at DS Penske, I wouldn't be surprised if Phil Charles has been paid in actual gold.
Yeah.
That's what made him defect from Jaguar.
Well, to be fair though, fair play, right? We talk about football in Saudi Arabia and so forth, and money going in there. I know, but
no, you can't say that country around.
Yeah,
Ed.
I know you can't.
The forbidden word.
Risky business.
It's going to tell me how great Neon McLaren is.
But
you know what I just say to Aisha? Like, Ed's going to have a field day about this.
Yeah, but fair play. Like if someone is that, recognizable for their talents and you're willing to pay them, then fair play. Bit of a shift though for Phil Charles going from England to France, in a sense, but it'll be seeing what happens. But
I thought they had a base over here somewhere.
They might have a base over here, but they built a brand new base in Paris a couple of seasons ago.
Yeah.
The DS, but obviously that was when it was that was DS basically. It was DS Cheetah, but
he'll just work out of one of the DS automobile showrooms.
He'll work somewhere. He'll do his magic.
He'll do his Formula E stuff, and then afterwards try and sell someone a car.
Exactly. And the way he was on Saturday, he'll probably do the same. But I think last word before we wrap up, because it's 9:59, boys. Show has flown. We'll talk about Tokyo. I suppose new track. Anything can happen, right? Anything can happen. What do you think is going to happen? I have no idea, to be honest with you.
Well, it's not just the fact that it's a new track. It's a new city in a new country for Formula E, and this is one that they've wanted to do forever. Mm-hmm. There is a lot riding on this race for Formula E.
Like if we look at the Diriyah race,
it doesn't really matter if it's a good race, like from a fan's point of view, as long as everything works perfectly. There's no controversies about the circuit or or
we don't have a Hyderabad situation where
yeah,
the
exactly,
open up the barriers so commuters can go through. But yeah, you're right. They were so keen about. Remember, was it Team Aguri and Nissan sent show cars back down to like season 2 or 3, wasn't it?
Yeah,
app as well. And there was they've certainly had to close just a street to do those sorts of parades, and now they finally got that permission to close off that section of Tokyo, that prefecture. But yeah, I think the first sector particularly looks very tight, very twisty, and then we've got a lot more sort of straights thereafter. Sort of the long run, especially that turn 9 looks really, really fast as well on the map that I'm just looking at right now. So I think the fans are certainly going to try. I do hope they have a good experience. I hope they're not being price gouged for grandstand tickets and stuff like that. I hope for most venues, Formula E, at least a little bit better than certain other motorsport series that tend to charge premium for viewership on site. But unless, of course, you're media like you two guys are. But anyway, but yeah, I think for Nissan, it's going to be a huge deal as well, especially on the back of Oliver.
Right. Okay. I can tell you this in a Formula E Zone exclusive because as has been mentioned over this, I've spoken to
Formula E
Oliver
Zone
Rowland
breaking news.
Yeah.
Go on.
That Oliver Rowland is not looking forward to the amount of press things he's going to have to do in the run up to the Tokyo Eprix. That is the hot gossip you get on the FE bar.
Perfect. Yeah, I think it would be interesting. I think it would be massive for Nissan if they were to get a result. I just think it's a clean slate. You know, how good is everyone's simulation data that you assume pretty decent. And we go from there. If you look at Diria impressed me as the backdrop, you know, the drone show. Yes, he had the beauty of the night, and I still think a Tokyo race at night would be immense. But I think for a flagship event that is Tokyo, you kind of want something similar. You kind of want a big build-up. You kind of want to see all the glitz and glamour that come with being in Tokyo. And I think that's what I want to see. That's what I want to see, it like an event, like a show. I want to see, you know, it's the year of the dragon. I want to see the dragon. That's China anyway. But I want to kind of see. So yeah, scrap that point. Never mind. But I kind of want to see some Japanese authentic, you know, culture
you need
around
to brush
that
up on your Japanese.
I need to wrap up my Japanese. It's
race.
10:02. You made me go 2 minutes past the show length. I blame you.
Well,
I blame you.
I'm not the one who's bringing up the beauty of Saudi Arabia here.
Yeah, but no, I thought Saudi Arabia did an absolutely great job, to be honest with you.
Yes, of course they did.
In showcasing.
They have money.
Yeah, but they did a good job in showcasing.
That's what it is.
They did a good job in showcasing Formula E, and it would be awesome. I think with Tokyo and Japan, it would be awesome to see something like that. So, boys, before we say anything more stupid, I think it's time to wrap up. Thank you to everyone for coming on. All the guests we had, Catherine, everyone who came on, Nick, obviously, we had Lou making his first appearance.
Adam as well.
We had Adam as well. Come on,
Natalie,
and Natalie, of course, you cannot forget. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you to my brother for letting me do this on his computer.
Yeah.
Remember to live, laugh, and love, everyone.
Yep, live, laugh, and love. We love all those things. Also, for those of you who are still here, Ed did an absolutely amazing job on getting a short out, comparing, and that little clip video that we saw earlier with what was it, the Sao Paulo, the Cape Town overtake of Da Costa, and Sam Bird's overtake. So if you go give that some love, go vote, put it in the comment section. What overtake you preferred? Give that a like. Give this a like, and if for whatever reason you haven't hit the subscribe button, please do. It means the world to us. We're trying our hardest here to give you the best Formula E content that we can give you. And obviously we have some great friends like Nick, who is also doing a great job. So make sure you go follow Nick and read his stuff on Racing News 365, because he makes this show just as good as you guys coming on, and it means the absolute world to us. So thank you so much for watching. We will be back in 2 weeks' time to dissect the Tokyo Eprix. Good night.